Hey everyone, it's Jaden here. Today, we're going to talk about something that's probably been on your mind at least once, and especially recently. And that's, who is the true GOAT? Michael Jordan or LeBron James? You guys probably had enough of that already. But for real, today, we're going to be talking about retirement. Now, there's definitely a trend of people making adjustments to retire a lot earlier than usual. Some people are taking extreme measures to completely retire by their early 30s. But there are many cases where these people come back from retirement because they feel a lack of purpose or fulfillment, or they're just bored of traveling every day. But on the other hand, the average American who works 40 to 45 years of their life desires to retire earlier, especially since most workers don't like their job. And that is exactly why I'm on a journey to pursue semi-retirement. So semi-retirement is when you intentionally work more during your earlier years, but then you retire a lot earlier than the average person, but you continue to work only part-time. And that leaves you with a lot of time to do whatever you want. So in this video, we're gonna go through what is semi-retirement and how you can achieve it. And by the way, I recently just had my first son, which is pretty crazy. So I haven't had a lot of time to film in one session, so you might see a little differences throughout the video. Let's take a look at what semi-retirement would look like. But keep in mind, the exact hours worked really depends on your job and your situation and how fast you want to retire. So this is just a general view of the concepts. So this is a graph of what the average person would work. They graduate school and go to an entry-level job working about 40 to 40 hours each week. And as they get promoted and earn more responsibilities through their late 20s and early 30s, their hours start to increase. Keep in mind, this is also when people start to get married and start having kids, making their life a lot more busy. And then working 40 to 45 good years of their life, they will finally retire. Now let's take a look at someone who is semi-retiring. So in the earlier years, you see there's a lot of hours worked in what serves as the building blocks to semi-retirement. All the extra hours worked will provide more income to invest. And after working like this for some time, the hours start to decrease around their mid-30s, and this is where the semi-retirement begins. From here on, the retiree only works part-time, leaving them with a lot of time to enjoy their retirement, all at an earlier age. This graph does a better job representing people who can easily choose their work hours. If you work a regular salaried job, your graph would look something more like this. You wouldn't have a gradual decrease in working hours, but something more clear-cut like this. Now, I know most of you guys are probably asking, how do you do this? Well, let me tell you, all you have to do is sign up for my $5,000 course below for all my tips and secrets. And make sure to enter promo code $a for an extra $2 off. Alright, but for real, I'm going to share with you what I believe are the key components to semi-retire. Now, this will not be an exact step-by-step guide, as there's no way for me to know everyone's exact situation, but this is just a general guide for everyone to follow. But one thing I can say for sure is that the earlier you start, the earlier you can finish. So really, it comes down to these three simple things. Cut spending, save more money, and invest. In the end, the growth from your investments is what will fuel your retirement. So first, let's talk about how you can cut spending. There are many ways to do this, but here are some of my general tips. Before you do anything, you have to see what you're spending money on in order to see where you can cut your spending. And you can do this by tracking all of your expenses on an online budget tracker such as Mint. For me and my wife, eating out was definitely an area we had to cut down on, and that wasn't just for financial reasons. So really take some time to look at what your expenses are and see where you can cut down on. And unless you're extremely frugal already, I guarantee you there's at least one thing you can cut down on.
All of the millionaires that we interview did it by saving and investing their income. They did not give their income to Best Buy and MasterCard, who named that anyway. When you give your income to someone else, you don't have it anymore. And when you give your income away, you have given up your economic future. All for crap. For a stinking flat screen.
Moving on to housing. For most of us, housing is one of our biggest expenses, so it's important that we cut back on it as much as we can. First, whether you're buying or renting, always negotiate. If you're renting, try your best to communicate to your landlord that you won't cause any problems, that you have a stable job, that you have a good rental payment history, and do whatever you can to try to negotiate your rent lower. Also, if you know that you're not going to be moving for a long time, try negotiating a longer lease term, as this might help you lock in a lower rental rate or at least get some weeks of free rent. And this is because most landlords would rather have one good tenant than have multiple tenants in that same time, because there's a lot of costs in finding a tenant, cleaning up and refurbishing the unit, and the property sits vacant while all this is happening. If you're renting from a big developer who has set prices, it might be harder to negotiate, but these companies usually have better promotional deals, so be sure to look out for those. But overall, when it comes down to housing, it's usually financially better to buy a house than to rent one, so try to make that one of your goals if possible. Second, if you're able to, live with roommates. This will help you save a lot of money, which will eventually help you buy your own place sooner. Keep in mind, you won't only be splitting the rent with your roommates, but things like utilities, furniture, or maybe even food. And speaking of utilities, a great way to save on electricity is to know when your peak and off-peak hours are. For me, here in California, my peak hours are from 4 to 9 p.m. So I hold off on non-essential things like charging my laptop or my phone or doing laundry until after 9 p.m. Electricity costs 29 cents per kilowatt hour during peak hours and not even 5 cents during super off-peak hours. And just to give you a quick demonstration of how big this is, let's take a look at the average US household who uses about 11,000 kilowatt hours per year. If all of that electricity is used during peak hours compared to super off-peak hours, that household's electricity bill will be $2,600 higher for that year. And that's pretty shocking to say the least. This is obviously a very extreme example, as it would almost be impossible to not use any electricity from 4 to 9 p.m. Ah yes, 9 o'clock. But the point is that you can save money on this. Another big way to cut down on spending is to pay down high interest debt. And for most people, this is primarily credit card debt. The average interest rate on credit cards is 19%. So if you're paying interest on this, it will go through your bank account real fast. So try to make it a high priority to pay off all your high interest debt. And even after you pay off all your debt, make sure you're very smart about your spending so that you don't get back into credit card debt. For some tips and tricks on how to pay off debt, check out Finance 101's video linked below. Now moving on to saving more money. The goal here is to increase your income potential in order to invest more. And now it might be easy to increase your spending as your income goes up as well, so it's important you keep your spendings consistent. If you are already working full-time, starting something on the side can be a great way to boost your income. If you like working with kids, maybe try online tutoring. If you're super organized, maybe be a virtual assistant. If you're creative and you like writing, try writing for a blog. Or maybe you really like baking. But the point is, there's so much opportunity out there, it's just a matter of you finding where you can bring value. And if you have no idea where to start, check out Fiverr or Upwork to see what type of freelancers people are currently looking for. And that brings us to the final step, which is investing. And I know right away the word invest might strike some fear in some people, or you just might think that your situation won't allow you to invest. Maybe you have a lot of debt, or you have a family of 5 to support, or whatever it is. I want to tell you and encourage you that it is possible. Now, it might take some time, but with a lot of hard work, I guarantee you can accomplish more than you think.
Nothing is impossible!
There are a lot of ways you can invest your hard-earned money, but personally, I'm a firm believer of real estate, which for most people would just mean buying a house. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of this in this video because I already did in my other video, so be sure to check that out. And if you're very new to investing or don't have too much time to research, buying an index fund or an ETF might be a great way to start out. When you buy an index fund, you're buying very little portions of many big companies, so your investment is very diversified. This way, any big loss from a single company won't really impact your investments as much. But this is also the truth for any big gains. But overall, as the economy grows, your investment will grow with it very steadily. If you invested $100 a month into an index fund, your total investment would be worth about $136,000. Another great way to invest is to buy dividend-paying stocks. This is one of my favorite methods. Some companies will pay you a dividend for investing in them, and you as the investor can choose to do whatever you want with this money. But you can choose to reinvest these dividends into that same company, so you buy more shares, which eventually will pay you more dividends, and the cycle keeps going on. With this method, your growth will compound exponentially. Now, I know I gave you guys so much information until now, so let me give you a rough example of how this might kind of look like. So let's say someone is making the median income of about $59,000, and let's assume their salary goes up about 3% each year. But this person is trying to semi-retire, so they have a side hustle making about $20 an hour, and they do this for about 20 hours each week. This will bring their total annual salary to about $79,000. After taxes, their total take-home pay will be $4,733. And let's say they save and invest about 15% of this, or $710, each month into a dividend-paying stock. Now, there are so many dividend stocks that this person could have invested in, but let's just take a popular dividend stock like Realty Income, which has averaged over 15% annually with dividends reinvested. But let's just be conservative and say they earned about 12%. Now, after 15 years of doing this, this person would have an investment worth over $412,000. With a 5% dividend yield, this person will be getting over $1,500 each month as just extra income. And if that wasn't enough for this person to semi-retire, they can do this until year 20, which then they would be getting paid about $3,200 each month. And obviously they won't be reinvesting these dividends, but using it to fund their semi-retirement. So hopefully that example at least gave you an idea of how semi-retirement would look. But again, the details really are up to you and your situation and your goals. Some people might save a bigger portion of their income, or some people might have a higher paying job, or it really depends. So that was a very small glimpse into semi-retirement. If any of this sounded appealing to you, be sure to do more research, as I only touched on the very basics of everything. And if all of this is very new to you and you have no idea where to start by finding out what your why is. Because when things are tough, this is what will get you through. For me, I come from an immigrant family, so my parents came to the States with a lot of debt. So it was very normal for them to work over 14-hour days, 7 days a week, just to survive. And for many years, my dad only took off 4 days each year, and not because he wanted to go on a vacation or anything, but because sales were very low during certain days, like Thanksgiving. So I obviously didn't spend a lot of time with my family during my childhood. So my motivation is to work hard, save and invest right now while I'm young and have more time, so that I can spend more time freely with my family and coach high school basketball without any financial burdens. And last thing, I know I started the charts in the early 20s, but think of that start relative to your age. If you're in your late 20s or even past your 30s, remember that it's never too late to start. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please share it with a friend. And also feel free to follow me on Instagram at $1ADayChannel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.